Welcome back. It's showtime. We are with Wahab Algarmi. My friends, I want to introduce you to this amazing guy. Hey, Wahab, what's happening? Thank you for joining me, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
So for those of you who don't know, Wahab does a lot behind the scenes for us at Storyboard Art. You're a writer and you're also one of the community mentors and helpers online. And so what people probably don't know is that you are actually a experienced comic writer, comic artist, and also storyboard artist, which I think you are underrated as a story guy. So we can talk about that. But we'll wait for people to trickle in. The idea with this talk, and I'm happy to have Wahab here with me because the panel that we had earlier was great with a bunch of ex coworkers that friends I know from the industry, and I think this is going to be a really lively talk. Just talking about story stuff, so anything goes. I think. I mean, if you're cool with that, Wahab, like whatever.
you watch yourself with that.
Yeah, we got some really interesting questions earlier. So I guess, well, let me remind people where they are. I'm Sergio Paez. I'm a story artist, and we've been sponsoring a lot of talks in this. And I think probably most of you guys know me for some of the events that we're doing with Storyboard Art. We have the ongoing Drawing and Portfolio Challenge, which registration is still open. You guys can still register for that free course. The response has been great, right? You've seen that. Wow, like we have like hundreds and hundreds of artists participating in that event.
Yeah, and I just want to add, I know it's like there's so many posts on there already on at least on the Visual Storytellers United Facebook group, and I know some people are like, oh, they didn't get to me yet or whatever. It's a busy weekend, guys. With Lightbox and Sergio's doing like 3 chats a day. So we'll get to it eventually. And I see a lot of the stuff behind the scenes, even though you guys don't see me on there too much. I've been there for a couple of years now, helping out with Sergio stuff. But we're there. We see it all, and we're trying to respond to as much of it as possible. Yeah.
So yeah, be patient with us. And actually, people are very kind and forgiving. Actually, I've got some. Thank you for those wonderful comments. Actually, I got some supportive people that I saw on Facebook for me today. I did want to mention, so if you guys don't know about that, let me put that up on screen. I don't think you can see this, Wahab, but this is the link for you guys to go to the Storyboard Challenge. So you can type in bit.ly/storyboard challenge. That's going to get you to the Drawing and Portfolio Challenge that we're talking about. I did also want to mention one more thing. This is the Story Artist Mentorship, and we can take questions from that as well. And I'll play for you guys, and we'll have here a trailer that we have from that. Let me pull that up for a second. So for those of you guys who don't know what that is, let me play this trailer and we can talk a little bit about it. And I think there's a lot of times we get a lot of ex-mentorship guys on here who have been in some of our past mentorship workshops. And it's been great. They've actually been super supportive of what we've been doing too. We had a great group last time. All right, let me play this for you guys.
The mentorship experience has been the best learning experience that I've ever had about story.
It was a game changer.
Yeah, this last year, it's sort of felt like it's been an extension of my schooling experience as far as I think the consistency of work, the challenge of the assignments, again, the feedback, which has been so great and appreciated.
So registration is now open for that. And thank you guys for those who have registered already. I've been getting a lot of responses from people. It's so awesome and so positive to have you guys in that group. I can't wait for this year. And I will mention this. You've heard our talks before we'll have with Nick. But Nick Sung, who's an ex-Pixar artist, is going to be my co-instructor, my guest co-mentor on this Story Artist Mentorship program. And Nick is amazing. So we're going to have a chat with him tomorrow. So hopefully you guys will stick around for that. But let me ask you, Wahab, is there anything you wanted to say about like story in general before we kick it off with some of the Q&A that we're going to do? Like, what do you see with trends? Is there something that I don't know, that you might have picked up maybe from this weekend?
Well, not necessarily from this weekend. I think this morning the guys, I forgot who said it. I think it might have been Vaughn. The whole serialized storytelling, and you really get a chance to open it up instead of just a short movie, an hour and a half, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a pretty big future for storytelling. I think those guys that did Avatar and have gone on to do Korra and what else have they done? Dragon Prince,
A bunch of stuff like Voltron. I think some of those guys came on.
Voltron, yeah. Laura Montgomery was on that one. Yeah, those are all really great. I think that is the future of storytelling, as far as I know. Cobra Kai is great. I've been catching up on that.
I've heard
Netflix.
that. You like that show, huh?
Yeah, oh yeah. It's a lot of great character development in that. It's really fun, and they have time to build it. It's not, back in the day it was an hour and a half probably. Karate Kid one, right? You get Daniel, you get a generic Johnny, and now you have 2 seasons worth of that character, and he's amazing. They've made him out into like a full figure. They gave him a family life and a backstory and all this great stuff, and it's really good stuff.
Nice. Well, cool. Yeah, I second that. I think the episodic stuff has a lot of potential, and people love it. Like, what you're saying, Game of Thrones and animation also has been episodic for a while, but I think now it's getting, more popular. This longer format, and we did a lot of that when we were at Lucasfilm. And what my argument too was like, when the traditional stuff, I mean, you know this one is like, when we were kids, right? You'd watch an animated cartoon show, and it would just go like episode by episode. There was no like thread that led everything together. And I don't know if you saw this, but when Robotech came out, to me, it blew my mind because there was an actual thread, the storyline that went through that whole series. And I was like, wow, I couldn't believe it. Plus, I love the drawings. I look at it now, I'm like, this looks a little dated, but I don't know if you had that same reaction or even watched that show when you were a kid.
I watched a little bit of it. I don't think I got to catch it all at the same time. So I didn't get the episodic feel of it. I think it's a little harder. It's a lot easier now to catch episodic stuff, right? Because it's all there. Like kids today don't know how good they have it, where they can just stop it, pick it up later, right? If you were, when we were kids, we couldn't pause it or whatever. If you caught it, you caught it. You didn't know when it came back on, right? You had to catch it that next episode the next day. But I think also because Robotech was Japanese, right? They were doing things a little bit differently. They were ahead, I think, in that aspect of it as far as storytelling. But there's a lot to be said about the stuff that we caught as kids too, where it was episodic, and that's really hard too, where you're resetting the clock. And if you think about it, it's almost even harder where there's no character change, but you still have to keep it interesting, right? And the same kind of things happen to this person over and over. It's like almost like a daily comic strip of like Garfield. Like, how do you keep that super
like
popular? Where they stay the same. They stay the same for 40 years, but it works, right? He's still 10, she's still 8, or whatever. Nah.
Awesome. Well, let me get to some of the questions. And I say this honestly, anything goes here. Let's talk all about story. And, you can talk about the Drawing Portfolio Challenge, talking about the mentorship. We can talk about tools, any of the talks that we've been doing. So let me bring this question up on screen.
Wait 1 second, Serge. Before we jump into the questions, I just want to say thank you, first of all, for doing this for everybody, because everybody's had a lot of fun doing this.
All right.
And I know you're super busy with this weekend. It's super crazy, doing 3 talks a day. That's a lot of talking, man. Secondly, thanks to everyone that actually participated and is going through and watching your videos and then actually doing the work and posting the work. That's super helpful, not just to themselves, but to everybody else that sees it, right? So that's a really big deal. And third, I think I've been seeing a lot of the work. I don't answer a lot, but I see a lot of the work that comes in. I do a lot of the private messages that come in. I try to answer as best as I can. And I thank people for being patient with that. But also, I think in the first exercise, you have the 100mm lens versus the 24mm lens. And I think it was pretty clear. Most people got it. But I think it would be really helpful if we could get an example of the same exact shot, but with the 2 different types of lenses. I think that would be really interesting to see. I know you were like, oh, let them try it themselves. But I think there's still a little bit of confusion. Like what if you had a telephoto lens, but you pulled it way back? What would it look like, right? Compared to like a 24. Yeah,
and you had a good suggestion too. I wasn't too clear on this, but it helps if you label what the shots are and what your goal is there on that. That just helps us, and also I think helps everybody in the group in Facebook, understand what you're trying to go for. So
I think a couple of people have been mixed up between the 2 too, where they label one and it's actually the other one. So or they'll blur the 24 and they'll zoom out of the 100 and make that one crystal clear.
Yeah, and I put this up on screen. Zach M saying, I spent all day trying to understand lens legs thanks to the first course. That's true. So just remember, 24mm lens. So the smaller the number, the wider the lens is. and the bigger the number, the longer it is. So think of like, you know, those paparazzi cameras that you see on, you know, on TV or something. It's a really long camera lens, and you're going to get like a very focused, almost like a telescope, right? That's why telephoto, right? Same thing. Just think of that. Cool. Let me pull up the first question. I saw one that I thought was pretty good. Let me go through. Here we go. So Ray S is saying, tips for starting good exercises to learn storyboarding. You want to take a first stab at this one? Wahab?
Yeah, you just got to keep doing it, man. That's lesson one. I think Sergio spends a lot of time talking about just overall that I've seen him talk about life drawing, figure drawing. And one of the big questions that I see popping up a lot across the board is, how do I handle perspective? And that is also practice. In my personal art, I like to do a lot of buildings and cityscapes, rooms and things like that. And it helps a lot to actually just try it out. And eventually you'll see like, oh, that perspective doesn't look right. It's a little wonky. And then eventually you'll start to get the feel of it. But it's really all just doing it over and over and over again until you really just get it down. Yeah, for sure. And like that practice thing is so true. I mean, you and I both have done like tons of hours and hours and, you know, how many years of figure drawing, right? Yeah. And then the perspective thing, you're totally right. That's really hard for a lot of people to learn because I think people might put it off. I get the impression that like, you know, it's hard. It's a technical thing. So it's like, well, I'll just eyeball it. And then, it's a little scary. It's a little scary for sure. And, you know, you have to really kind of understand the fundamentals before you can jump in there. And, but, you know, after a while, just, you know, some good exercises I would recommend is watching films, right? Watching movies, understanding at least how, you know, narrative stories are pieced together, and then drawing all the time for sure. And then, you know, come to our courses. There we go. That's another softball. Sign up to the Drawing Portfolio Challenge. Free. You know, it's a free course. I would say just keep drawing too, like especially the perspective, like because that one's so hard. I think human anatomy, you kind of get it from everywhere. A lot of people like to say it over and over, but like I started noticing things about houses and buildings when I started drawing them that I'd never noticed with my own eye before, even doing art. But once you start doing something a lot, you'll start noticing it. So even with perspective, you'll notice that a lot more, and it'll become way easier. Yeah. We got another question from Norm here. Norm Lopez is asking, from the writing side, this is a good one for you. Can little or too much play-by-play dialogue break your story? Okay, so can little or too much play-by-play dialogue break your story? What do you think about dialogue? I think, I'm from the school of show, don't tell, if that makes sense. You guys have heard of that? Like, yeah. You know, you show the emotion, don't tell it. If you have to have all this prose, or if you have to have all this exposition, it kind of kills the moment, right? If you have to explain something out to the audience, maybe you're not doing the job right as a visual storyteller, right? Even as just written prose, there's like purple prose where you just go on and on too long, but on purpose. There's different styles, but I think if you're visually storytelling, you want to try to tone that back as much as possible. I just finished I had some news to tell you guys. I just won a grant last Friday. I've been doing this project, comic book for this nonprofit in the city of Oakland about equitable living in the city. Uh-huh. And last year we just finished the book, and it got produced and printed out. We had a great artist work on it from Image Comics. And we just got a grant last Friday to continue the series on. We'll be talking about racial equality and segregation and integration and all kinds of things that are going on in the city right now. It's a fun project that I didn't think I'd like. And one of the things that I have to do is I have to answer to all these nonprofits, and there's all these like hands in the pies, who I guess they're like producers in a production, and there's a lot of dialogue that I try to cut out because of them, and a lot of explaining because they have all these really technical things that they want to go over. So it's been fun, but that's awesome. It's fun cutting stuff out too. Yeah. So I would definitely cut back as much as you can. Wow, know? Congrats, man! Where can we see that? Do you have any kind of you know what, a preview for that? I think it's just getting printed out. Once it's, I think they're going to post it online for free because they want everybody to read it. So I'll make sure that I definitely share that with everybody.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Congrats. Okay.
Thanks.
Let's go to Irvin 808. Which laptop would you get to handle intense storyboarding? Oh man, another technical question. What do you think? What do you have a laptop? Well, you're an iPad Pro user, right?
I am. It's great. I love it. I think for just for storyboards, most machines can handle storyboards.
Yeah.
Just simple grayscale, or even if there's a little bit of color in it. I have an iPad Pro. I think this is a big. I think it's the bigger one than the one that you showed off earlier today. That was Mike's. Yeah. This one's nice. I also have a keyboard for it. It's a hard keyboard. It's from Logitech. I like it because it's like it also doubles as a hard shell. I also have a screen protector that's kind of like, they say it's like paper, but it's not really. It's still a little bit too smooth for my taste. I like a little more grit in there. Procreate is hands down the best. It's amazing. I think I shared, there was a storyboard artist from DreamWorks that shared his work setup for Procreate. I thought that was pretty great.
Do you remember the name of the artist?
I forgot. I'll look it up again.
Okay. Maybe you guys in the chat can help us out with that.
Definitely. I know I've shared it to the group already.
Okay.
But it's great. Procreate is like $10. That's it. So even if you spend a lot of money on the iPad and the pencil and all that good stuff, after that, like if you're on a desktop or laptop, you're spending money on the monthly fees for Creative Cloud or Toon Boom or whatever. But $10 and you're done with that, and then you can just go on to whatever. And then there's some other things that I do, especially in the comics, like I'll make word balloons or something. And there's a couple of other apps that I use, but I still go back to Photoshop. I still have a Photoshop subscription. I have to. Right. Everybody has to, right? That's how
Photoshop is pretty. That's they get you.
they got us chained, but I still would rather sit and do my work on there and then transfer last minute to Photoshop, clean up, edit, whatever I need to do, and do it there.
Yeah.
But, no laptop for me. I have a desktop that I'm using right now to talk to you guys, and then my iPad.
I like in the last chat, I would recommend a laptop that you can draw on that has some kind of monitor, either the Surface Pro or there's like Dell makes a version that has the 2-in-1 laptop, kind of tablet thing. But really just something that can power up your boards. And yeah, you're right. I agree with you. You don't need much. You don't need that much power to do storyboards really. So, hey, cool. Is anybody able to open the Story Artist Mentorship link? It says it's broken for me. Oh man, that's terrible. We'll get our tech guys on that. I'll make sure that that stuff is working. So hopefully some of you guys can chat that in for us there. All right, let's go to this one from, all right, you signed up for the challenge. Thanks, it's Kirk. Appreciate that, very cool. Let's go to this question. Abigail says, is it hard to transition from visual development to storyboard artwork? You've done a little bit of this, right? It's like going from like illustration into story work into comics. What's that like?
Well, I have a few friends that have done it professionally and did a great job about it, and it was just being in the right place at the right time. Honestly, their work is amazing. Their comics work was great. They were funny, and I have a few friends that are working together right now at Cartoon Network, and they're having fun there. I had another friend that I did an interview with for storyboard art. If you look back at our blog, it's on there. It's one of the last posts, and his name is Jason Thompson, and he just got lucky. The art director saw his work. They were both D&D fans, and that stands for Dungeons and Dragons for those that don't know. Right. And Jason Thompson was a artist. He used to do Dungeons and Dragons magazine, I think, or something on their website. And the art director for Illumination for Minions 3, I think that's the one that's just coming out right now, saw it and offered him a job. So he transitioned very well. My other friends transitioned very well, and they had never done anything before. And another note on equipment, those guys all did paper and pen back in the day. I think even us in school, we were still paper and pen for most of the time. I think Photoshop was just coming in. So that being said, they were working on paper and pen, and then they transitioned to a professional career, and they got all that equipment, and they were taught how to use it. So don't let that hold you back at all. If you're still somebody that can't afford it, doesn't know how to use it, I mean, it's just a tool. Right. There are other tools. So
yeah, the drawing skills are hard to learn, and it's easy to learn the tech stuff. I think. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I agree with you. It's pretty. You can make the transition from visual development to story, but you have to make your portfolio. Have to do some story work, but you have to have the skills. I think all the guys you're talking about were really talented guys. They're already visual storytellers and could do.
Oh yeah, they're all amazing. They're one of them. His name is Derek Kirk Kim. The guy is incredible. I think he just finished working on Green Eggs and Ham, Amphibia. Before that. That's a Disney show. So he went from Disney to Netflix, and now he's on DreamWorks. And I don't know what he's working on, or I can't tell you guys. But yeah. But yeah, that guy's amazing. If you look up his work, and he's been doing comics and cartoons forever. I think he went down to LA and started really making his own films. Like he started doing short films. Like he stopped making cartoons and comics for a while, and he just started focusing on filming. He was doing live action. He did a couple of great things, and then he moved on and he started animating and going into storyboarding. So nice. It's possible. It's very possible, very easy. As I think a lot of it, I think like those guys said this morning, it's all about being in the right place at the right time with the right helping hand, getting you in there, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Let's go to Bridget's question. Is asking, do you have any advice to level up perspective skills for storyboarding, perhaps good books, videos? I think this is back to that. I have a couple. In fact, somebody was asking about this earlier. I always recommend Andrew Loomis's book, Figure Drawing for All It's Worth. Not only are you going to learn your figure, but he has his perspective breakdowns in there for me were really, really helpful. It talks about hanging perspective, and just if you break down the proportion of a human body in 8 heads, it's an easy thing to divide the human body. You can then divide that with the perspective as well, and the proportions, you can like just multiply things, and it made sense. So if you read that book and you go through it, and you really read the diagrams and you actually look at it, I know, sometimes it takes work, right? You got to study this stuff, but that's one book I really enjoy. And then also Loomis's other books are really great. I don't know if you've seen this book. This is a recent one with Scott Robertson called How to Draw, but it's all about perspective. So it's kind of like, to me, I think it should be called like How to Draw Your Perspective. But I mean, obviously, if you can draw your perspective, you can probably draw anything. So, but I think that book is really good. You got any good ones? The Algarmi Guide to Awesome Perspective?
Not books, but there's this great video that I've been sharing from BAM Animation. I'm sure these guys know it, know that channel, that YouTube channel. It's those two guys. You send in your artwork and they'll redraw it for you in their style or something like that. But I just put it up in our chat. I don't know if that'll show up, but I popped up they have a really great YouTube video for it. And sometimes I teach and I show my students this too. And it's just really easy to understand the way they explain it. And I think it's fun. If you haven't seen it, Sergio, I highly recommend it too.
Yeah. If anybody has a link out there, we'll share it with the group. We'll put it
I'm pretty sure I just shared the link. I don't know if I shared it in the right spot.
You probably put it in the private chat. Give me a second. Oh, that's okay. Cool. Yeah. Let me put this up. We got a YouTube link. Give me a second.
That one's great. And those guys were at Lightbox last year. So I'm sure they're here with us somewhere virtually, digitally, again. And it was nice meeting them last year.
Nice. Here it is up on screen. Sorry, it's a YouTube link, so
yeah,
as well just memorize it. You can't actually click on it and go there. But
sorry, but it's BAM Animation. I'm sure a lot of people
BAM,
have heard
right?
Of that. BAM Animation. BAM Animation.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, they're great. They're great. 2 guys, they've been working in animation, it seems like, for a while, and they know their stuff. And it's the way they explain it is really good. But again, like I said earlier, is practice. Go out and draw some shitty buildings, like draw 1,000 crappy versions of a building, and then you'll start getting it, and then it'll be less crappy, and then the 1,010th one is going to be pretty good, and the 1,050th one is even better. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I remember just struggling with my perspective. I still, struggle with it. Like I try and practice cars and buildings and all that stuff. I don't know if you like this, but I get a kick out of like sitting down and know I'm going to have to do a perspective drawing, and I bust out my ruler and I got my horizon line. I'm like projecting all the vanishing points. Like I get technical with it, and you know, I dig it. I geek out about that stuff.
No, I hate it.
Oh, come on, man, it's fun.
I say I like it, but I like to free you know, eyeball it. None of my stuff looks like it's supposed to be perfect anyway when I'm doing that kind of stuff, but I have an understanding. Like you can tell there's an understanding there, so that's okay. Yeah. But to make it like a perfectly straight line, I don't feel the need to do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's just me. I always feel weirded out by like really straight edges. I'd rather not have them. I don't know. That's just my kind of work.
Right. Cedar here is asking, do you have any advice coming in specifically from the writing perspective? Opportunities for people interested in script writing before you have enough cred to write and direct. This is a good one for you as well, because Wahab's done a lot of writing.
Yeah, I have. I think kind of specific writing perspective. Opportunities for people. You just got to do it. You just got to keep writing. I know I had one of our old friends, Joel Sigua. Yeah. He was a storyboard artist that worked with Sergio before, and he just trusted me, and we were a partnership where it was I would write and he would draw, and it was a great marriage of two minds. He trusted all the stuff that I was writing for him. So if you're really good, right, and you can get somebody to help you out, there's that partnership, right? You probably want to write to create something else, right? Unless you want to write your own stories, just prose, just, writing, that's fine too. But if you're trying to write for animation or visual development of some kind, find some partner that you can partner up with that believes in your work. And that's how you get it done. And then eventually those are examples that you can show to other people and then build up from there. And thanks to Joel, I've built up a lot of work because of that guy, because he trusted me in my writing.
Yeah, I have two comments about that. The first one is the writing one. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And there is, I would recommend at least reading some books on writing, story structure, and like creative writing that, there is a way to set things up, have an open loop in writing, just as you would visually in a movie. And then you write it so that you close the loop later on and you create, a climax. You build up, there's certain techniques that you want to do in your writing. And then you have enough examples to do that. And then I would say just some advice to get some cred of what you're talking about is to like publish it or to show this to as many people as you can, to get feedback, and also to show them if you can actually do it. So like you've done a lot of comic writing, Wahab, which obviously, the script format is not exactly the same as a film format, but if you understand how to write and you know how to make something flow and it's good, you can easily adapt that to a short film, to a longer format episode, and then to a final movie, because the same type of muscles of like writing are involved, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I come from art background. I studied art, and I had to learn how to write. So whenever I write, I usually do layouts and little thumbnails for people. So whenever I did that for Joel, it was just thumbnails and art, and he was really good about it because he had a visual background too. So anytime I work with an art friend, it's really easy. But when I had like the nonprofit job where I was writing for all these nonprofits, I would show them the layout. Everything is there. The art is already there, right? I already have it laid out. It's just waiting for a final artist to come and finish. And they would look at it and they wouldn't understand it. They were like, where's the script? And I'm like, it's right there on the side. It's just, you just read along with the character. And they were like, no, we need to see a script. And I'm like, are you for real? You're going to make me go back and type everything out and type out the character actions, even though I've already done it for you and set it up. Uh-huh. It was a bit of a nightmare, but I did it. And, going back, like I've had to learn to write scripts and things like that. But as long as you get it, that's the point.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an argument within the like story, visual storytelling community where, story artists will oftentimes write the sequence. They'll come up with the ideas, but they sometimes write it in pictures, right? That gets sent, that makes it into the final film or the episode or whatever, but they don't get any writing credit, even though they came up with it. And sometimes they'll actually write dialogue and they'll do that kind of stuff. So story artists are like, well, I want a writer's credit. And the writer's like, well, no, because the actual script writer is the one who gets the credit. And it's just this debate back and forth. For me, I don't really care who who does the thing, as long as the final work looks good, right? But that's you'll hear that gripe come up every once in a while, right? All right, let's go on to the next question. Oh, sorry, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, but to that guy's the last question, just find a partner. That's one of the great things about this community is that everybody is on equal footing. Nobody knows who everybody is, pretty much, right? Unless you recognize a name here or there. But everybody's just sharing work, and this is even before the portfolio challenge. People would share work, and everybody would chime in and be like, "Oh, that's really cool," or "This needs work." Even I've shared work, and I ended up sharing a comic script that I did, and I got one of my last jobs because I shared it on our page. And just share your work. It seems, being an artist seems like it could be really lonely, but in today's digital world, it's really not, and you'll never know until you start sharing your work.
Yeah, nice. I like that.
Yeah.
This is an interesting question here from Ray C. For mentorship alumni, how much difference has the mentorship made in your careers? I would actually like to know that, but I'll share a couple stories with you. And for those of you guys who are mentorship, I see a couple in the chat. By the way, hello to you guys. It's good to see you on here. I'm happy that you're participating with this. So many of you know we're opening up registration again. But I talked to a couple of people, and I guess I won't say names because some of them are present, but a lot of guys have gotten jobs. I cannot take credit for what they have done because they've done the work, right? You're laughing at me because I'm not gonna, you're holding your laughter. I know, I see you. So then the thing is, they have to do the work. What I have done is hopefully given them some advice that would point them in the right direction. And that's what, to me, being a good mentor is, being a good supervisor is. I had people do that in my career, up until I was able to do it on my own. Okay. So I would love to hear your stories. I know a lot of you guys are working already. JC has already been published a bunch of stuff of the things that he's working on in the films, like doing a live action movie and things. That's really exciting. And so, let the results speak for themselves. If it has, with the mentorship program, to me, if I don't unlock some potential in you, then I'm not doing my job as a mentor. Right? There's no use for me to have you in the court. You shouldn't be there. Like, I shouldn't be and exist there. So I was really flattered with what Don Toss said earlier today, who's a good buddy of mine now. And yeah, I almost forgot that story. He started out as an intern, and I fought for this guy so that he was able to get a shot because I saw potential in him. And as soon as he was able to show his storytelling abilities, then others saw the potential, and he grew into a seasoned veteran really quickly. So I think that can really happen if you're dedicated and you apply yourself to this discipline. But yeah, anyway, thanks for that question. Let's go here to the next one. Hold on, let me scroll here. Man, there's a ton of questions. Thank you, by the way, for participating in this. Juliana is asking, okay, what wisdom can live action filmmakers learn from animators? So wisdom from live action guys, what wisdom can live action filmmakers learn from animators? Okay. What do you think about that one, Wahab?
I think they can learn a lot, right? Animators are always putting in the emotion. They're really animating that character, right? So they're showing all that emotion and drama that I think live action is kind of stiff a little bit sometimes. It's really well drawn, don't get me wrong, but I think where the animators shine is showing the character emotion. And I think live action can take some of that.
Yeah. My answer to that is I'm not a fan of sloppy filmmaking and just this like, let's shoot everything, we'll get a bunch of footage, and then we'll chop it together into the editing room. And I think, to me, what animator and animation people do, and story guys, that's what story guys do, that's why I'm biased, we pre-plan the movie, we pre-edit the film so that nothing is wasted. Like, I know the Coen brothers do this, and I heard that Ridley Scott, because he's actually a really great illustrator, and he does his own storyboard sometimes. And that's why I think his films are so tight, and that's why I love the Coen brothers. I think their films are awesome. I heard they storyboard out every single shot. And so there's nothing wasted there. But then you get other people like, well, I'm going to shoot this kind of documentary style. And yeah, they might come up with a film and they get spontaneity stuff. But to me, that's kind of sloppy filmmaking. Did they actually conceptualize this stuff beforehand? Like, how can you shoot Children of Men if you don't actually figure out what you're doing beforehand and know where the camera should be? And so, yeah, that I think animators, because of the way the art form is, you have to pre-plan this. You can't shoot an animated movie documentary style. You're going to kill your animators.
and notice you'll always hear about like the really good filmmakers are the ones that are doing their storyboards, right? You never hear about like a crappy filmmaker that like, oh, well, he storyboarded it all out and it didn't work. Right?
Right.
That's why you hear about like the Coens, the Ridley Scotts, and like the dude that did Parasite. I just saw his book in Barnes and Nobles. It's just little thumbnails that he did. But it's all like I forgot what it's called. I think it's just called The Storyboards of Parasite, but it's out now if you guys want to check it out. It's great. And it's just little thumbnails the director did. I forgot. It's, in the back of my head, his name. Yeah. But he just did everything, or he had some storyboards there, but it's all mapped out for him. Who else? Hitchcock, of course, is famous for, mapping out everything. So all the greats do it, right? Yeah. You should.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, let's go to this question from Adrian. It says, "Hey Sergio, what's the biggest mistake a beginner storyboard artist can make?" I have a couple of my repetitive pet peeves that I see repeated in a lot of guys. Let me see if I can remember. The first one I think that comes to mind is most beginners frame too tight. They frame way too tight. I don't know why this is. I think we all have this tendency. I've done it myself too. Everything's a close-up. Everything's just like there's barely enough room in the frame for anything to happen. And so one of my comments that I always say, let's just pull the camera out a little bit wider. Your composition has to have a little more breathing room. And then people frame like the headroom is it's right up here, and then it just creates a tangent with the frame. The other one is there's too many horizontal and vertical lines. So let me describe what I mean by that. Is that when you're drawing, like everything is flat. The characters are always up against the wall. The walls are always just straight up and down. It's kind of to your point, Wahab, where you say you don't like lines that are so straight. I always say just tilt the camera lens ever so slightly. And if you do that, like this, then all of a sudden I'm off kilter, right? So but hey,
you look way more dynamic than me now. That's
thank you. See, it's awesome, and that way you can get some visual interest. So those are common things that I see with it. The other one, I'll just say this because I've got like a list of these that people say. I say this over and over again. There's not enough shot choice. People go from a wide shot to another wide shot to another wide shot. They go from a medium shot to a medium shot. And then sometimes they'll even do close up to close up to close up. There's no shot variety there. Come on, guys. The way you do this, especially this is why you should study films, is so that you know when to have the right camera setup for the right moment. So,
a really good example of that is on the Facebook group. Like when they're posted as pictures, it's cropped in just a little bit. So what it ends up happening is like all the heads are cropped and all that. But if you click on it, it opens up. It looks a lot nicer. So it's a prime example of what you're talking about. Everything's cropped in too close. But then if you zoom out, you'll get a good picture of it.
Yeah,
it's a lot better.
So I guess I was talking more filmmaking mistakes. There's other. Well, I don't want to call them mistakes because actually that's not the right word for it, right? It's more that with experience you understand how to develop a sequence in a scene so that all of these for me check mark basic things are covered, right? You have solid drawing, got solid perspective, your shot choices are good, your camera setups are correct for the scene. All of that stuff helps. And maybe what we can do is say, well, where would you learn these things? How would a beginner go about avoiding some
let me change that question up a little bit then.
Okay.
What are some good habits that you've learned over the years? How's that? That's a better question. What are some good habits you picked up?
For me, to me, I follow one is do a lot of research. So the things that I do is research films, if I have a sequence, an action sequence, I'll look at any ton of movies that have a similar action sequence, and I'll get ideas, right? And I like this camera angle. Oh, that was a nice punch. I'll use that. Whatever, kung fu style, and then I'll kind of piece together these things with little sketches. And so that research part to me is really important. And some other good habits, of course, too, is that I recommend this to a lot of people. Is one thing I do to avoid just the monotony in your shot choices is you go from a high angle shot. You go from a high angle shot to a low angle shot, and you cut back and forth to those one after the other. So if your camera's high, in the next shot, put the camera low, and the next shot, and you could be really subtle. There's just a subtle difference as the camera raises up and back and forth, right? But what happens, and you can change it, but what happens is at least you're conscious that I'm not going to put the camera in the same exact place in the next shot. You know, that's kind of what I would do. Anyone for you, Wahab? You want to add to that?
Some good habits that I picked up.
Yeah, good habits.
Man, no, I still have all bad habits. I'm not sure what's a good habit that I picked up. I think changing, being conscious of the camera and changing it around is a really good one, and one that I think about too. I don't remember. I could have swore I remember you saying this, but I like every once in a while, especially if I'm knee deep in exposition or just a lot of head talking, especially in comics. There's a lot different, a lot of close-ups and just like, here's a little head, here's a big word balloon all the time. I like to pull back out of the conversation and show the characters and where they are, and give us a sense of where we are again. I like to show the surroundings again. Every once in a reestablish the setting. Mm-hmm. So usually we'll talk about having establishing shot at the beginning of a scene, but every once in a while I like to pull back out a little bit just to reestablish where we are, even if it's like after a couple of pages of the content or like a couple of scenes of the content, just to get a sense. And it doesn't have to be like the outside shot, like say you're doing something with like Game of Thrones, right? And you show the outside of a castle or something. Not necessarily that, but just pull back a little and even get like the perspective of this character is in this position compared to this character over here, right? But when it's like, here's this character close up, here's this character, it just get a little monotonous and you kind of forget where you are a little bit after a lot of exposition. So just a refresher.
Yeah, awesome. All right, let's go to the next question. I'm Michelle. Yeah. Okay. You're asking, would you recommend the mentorship for somebody with a full-time job? Oh, you know what? You reminded me of the second thing I was going to say when you mentioned with our mutual friend, Joel. I'm trying to reel in the both of you to come into the mentorship because these guys are working pros, right? But I want them in there. And we have Nick, of course, too. Nick Song is also one of the mentors who's going to give a new, fresh perspective to this. And you're going to hear me yap, but then you're going to have Nick as well, who's going to give some nice advice to all of you guys. So the reason I want you in there, one, you express interest, and then Joel's an awesome artist. And then the other thing I was going to mention too is that we did a podcast way back when we first started the Storyboard Art website, and that's buried somewhere on the website. And I'll have to find that and send the link to people. But I interviewed, when you first did one of your comics with Joel, I interviewed both of you guys, and I should listen to that to see what we were talking about back in the day. But let me get to this question. Would you recommend the mentorship for somebody with a full-time job? Let me take this one because Wahab has not been in the mentorship yet. And so, you know, I'm with my buddy, of course, and we go way back and we went to school together and stuff. But I appreciate the fact that, especially, it's going to raise the game if you have working professionals in there and is doing the work, because everybody's going to have a different storytelling style. But okay, I'm rambling. Let me get to this question. If you have a full-time job, here's what I recommend. It depends if you're like 40 hours a week, you have to know how much extra time you're going to have in your life, in your week, to be able to handle the mentorship exercises. Okay. What we're saying and what I'm saying on the registration page is that you need at least 2 hours a week to be able to handle the workload. Now that's a minimum. And I think if you can dedicate more, great. Now, can you find 5 hours a week? Can you maybe like put a pause on some of the Netflix shows that you're watching and that kind of thing and focus on the drawing and come with us to the mentorship? Because we're going to meet every 2 weeks on live reviews and we're going to talk about the assignments. And you have to do the work. That's how you grow. You're going to do the work and then you're going to present it to us as the mentors and to the group, because everybody's going to comment on everybody else's assignment. And then you go back and you do corrections, and then you're slowly going to build up the assignment for your portfolio. So only get into this if you feel like you can dedicate the time to it, because it makes no sense if you're just gonna, look at the modules and look at the assignments, but not be able to do the work. I think it's just gonna be frustrating for people.
Wait, I want a little bit more clarity on that. So 2 hours just to do the work, but then there's actual time where you're like, we meet once a week or twice a week, and then there's lesson plans, just like this portfolio challenge where you'll send us video clips. So there's 2 hours, you're saying minimum, just to do the work.
Yeah, I mean, you have to watch the lessons. So there's going to be some recorded lessons, just like the drawing portfolio challenge that you guys are seeing. But then you're right that we're also going to meet. So that is also part of the work that we have to be doing. So we're going to meet in a similar online Zoom chat where the whole group meets together and we discuss, not only the submissions, but we're also talking industry talk, and there's a lot of networking going on, and a lot of questions come up there. But yes, so think about that. If you have a full-time job, and because everything costs money, right? So think about this. I like to say this: if you're going to go to a college level course, and you're going to pay all this money to go to this fancy school, and then you're going to show up, but you're not going to do the work. You're not going to read the textbooks. You're not going to sit there with the lectures. What's the point in being in the course? Okay, and you just blew all that money. So how about if this is not the right time, save your money, and then wait for if we open this up again in the future, then you might want to join up then. So that's some advice for there. Wahab, are you gonna be able to keep up? Are you gonna be able to?
I'm keeping up now. I have a comic book to write this whole year with the nonprofits. I have a couple of things in the fire. Before I forget, I'll also be drawing tomorrow live for people. I'm also a guest at SF Zine Fest this weekend, which is happening. This is a local convention out here in the Bay Area. And you can find us online at SF Zine Fest. And I'll be drawing tomorrow at 3. I'll be doing a live demo figure drawing. So if anybody wants to join me for that, you're more than welcome to. Yeah, man, I do a lot. I can keep up. Father of the Year right here as well. So yeah, I got it all under control.
I think I think if you're organized with your time, there's plenty of time during the week to do a lot of things. I mean, if you can think of all the stuff that we do when we screw around, I think how about we apply that energy to something positive? And guess what? We're going to be there to give you some tough love and to push you in the right direction. So
I think also everybody from the mentorship last year didn't necessarily finish everything, right? Not to throw anybody under the bus or anything like that, but it's a work at your own pace type thing, right? Like you said, you get out of it what you put into it. So if you can and but you still also, I think, get a lot out of just the critiquing too. There's a lot to be said for listening to people critique. So hopefully right now everybody's paying attention, not just to their own portfolio challenge, they're looking at everybody else's stuff too, and what we're saying about everybody's work. That's also helpful. So you don't make the same mistakes. Critiquing is a huge one.
Totally. Great. All right, let's go to Ray's question here. Is asking, as somebody who's more into illustration, what are good practices / exercises to get the hang of storyboarding? Let me take a stab at this one. I would recommend, and we've been doing this a little bit in the course and other exercises too, is doing if you're already into illustration, how about making a rectangular composition to your illustration. So it's not vertical, like a poster art, that you actually, turn it on the side. So it's horizontal, like your phone, turn your phone on the side. So that's like 16:9 ratio. And then make a storytelling image out of an illustration that you're doing, right? So think of like Norman Rockwell or, the classic illustrators that compose something that when you look at it, you know immediately what the story is, right? What advice would you give on that one?
To get the hang of storyboarding, I think for me, it's a little bit different. And I think this goes with a lot of the stuff that I see online too, is there's more to the story than that one shot. So I think when we talk about illustration versus storyboarding, they're pretty similar, right? You're trying to tell a story, where I think as illustration and fine art are pretty different. Like if you go into the fine art world, it's not really talking about story as much, but illustration is like, there's a story there. Take it one step further with storyboarding, where it's a series of pictures that tell a story. That's how I see it. So I think that's what you want to do. Like you would want to set up all this story. So one of the things I see when I see people post random shots, I'm in also a couple other groups on Facebook, like Frame Dump, which is just like one frame or something like that, that you post. But it's interesting, like what's the rest of the story? Who are these characters? What are they doing? Is the ninja the bad guy? Is the angel actually the devil? Like what's the story behind this panel, right? So I think you want to think of that, like what are some things that you can set up in your illustration or in your storyboarding that tells the rest of the story. So,
yeah, nice. I like that. Cool. All right, let's go to Jean-Claude Delronde. Hey, buddy. Question. Great question here. Let's say if you got a blur in the foreground, but the rest is clear, is that a telephoto or can a 24 millimeter do that? I don't know if you're much up on like the technical stuff with lenses, Wahab, but like, theoretically you can, like, if you're in a wide lens, so that he's talking about a wide lens, to me, this camera is pretty wide. So if I put my hand really close to the lens, it starts getting blurry. Can you see that? Right, my thumb.
It's still pretty clear though, compared to what some people have been doing.
Right, you're gonna have
just a little bit.
Yeah, the field of view is gonna be much bigger, right, than a telephoto lens. But look at how close I had to get till it actually gets fuzzy, right? So you see that, and then yeah, you can do that, but then the rest of it should probably be in focus. And I'm recommending to people, I don't know if you've seen this too, that to not apply that much blur in the actual background, and you keep the lines pretty tight. And it's just like it's like a symbol, right? It's like an illusion. And the opposite would go if you're doing a long telephoto lens, blur the hell out of the background and really blur the hell out of the foreground. So you just get this foggy shape, and then it'll look like just what's in the center, what's in the middle ground is actually in focus. And
Are there any famous films that you could think of off the top of your head that use both of those like to their advantage, or use them a lot in a lot of their shots?
I mean, to me, the most famous one would be like Lawrence of Arabia. If you guys have seen that, it's an older movie now, but to get those incredibly expansive shots so they're going across the desert with camels and stuff, and the cinematography is amazing. It's a David Lean movie, I believe, and in order to do that, they had to put the camera way on the other side of the desert, and then with a telephoto lens capture this thing. That's why you get these big expansive shots. But other ones that I think I can't think of other like specific like wide lens. That's kind of easy for me because Amelie, if you guys have seen that movie, to me I was actually really impressed with not every shot in every film you're going to have like a combination of different lenses, right? But in this shot, the ones that were most impressive to me is how extremely wide, and this is something that director likes to do, is that using a really extreme wide shot, but composing it really well. So you'll have like Amelie's face really close, and she's really cute with her expressions. And then you also see the rest of the characters in the background, and it's like a stylistic choice. Whereas I think like a Kubrick film from like 2001, you're going to get a lot of these blurry telephoto type lenses,
What's the director's name for Amelie?
Jean-Pierre Jeunet, I think, right? Is that something?
It's French. I know that. I forgot what it was though. Yeah. But he's also done City of Lost Children, right?
Oh yeah, that's a really good movie.
Alien 4.
Alien 4. That's underrated, right?
There's a lot of great directors that worked on the Alien franchise. Not all of them are great movies, but a lot of great directors.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's go to the next question from Abigail. This one's a relatively easy one to answer. So how long would the drawing and portfolio challenge be available for? Simply because I'm doing art school right now and I want to be able to focus on it when I do it. You guys might have answered this already in the chat, but the registration will close tomorrow at midnight, Sunday at midnight. So if you guys want to get this course and want to participate in it, you want to register before Sunday at midnight. Okay. So you still have one day. That's plenty of time. All you got to do is put in your email and you're going to get the lessons emailed to you, and we're going to participate as a group together. And then the actual course will continue on, and it ends on September 18th. 18th for the following week is the last day to actually participate in the course. So there's still time. We got plenty of time to watch all the lessons and participate with everything here. So hopefully that makes some sense. All right, let's go to the next one. Alejandra is asking, do you have any tips on boarding an ensemble of characters all in a scene at once? Yeah, how do you handle multiple characters in a shot? Wahab, what's your take on that one?
Try to simplify them to shapes, right? Who's important, who stands out. I think a lot of people are doing really good with that Navy SEALs rescue thing, the challenge, the second part of the challenge. Yeah, so, just think about the it becomes a compositional idea where you're trying to think of who's in charge of this scene. Chad posted a really great scene before we really kicked off the portfolio challenge. Was he posted a scene from what's that movie, Citizen Kane, and it was a scene where he's talking and they change power dynamic and the camera shifts from underneath to above another character, and it's really great to see how even on like just one-on-one where you shift the camera and you get this different power dynamic and who's in charge of the scene. Same thing with a big group of characters. You don't think of them as individuals anymore. You think of them as like blocks, right? Like you see all these boxes behind my head. They're individual boxes, but if you see that as just a shot, those boxes become one big clump behind me. And I think that's the best way to do it. So you think about what's important and compose accordingly.
Yeah, that's a really good piece of advice. I do that a lot too. So it's exactly what you said. I'll group bunches of characters. And so it's almost like they're a group of characters that almost become one character. And so like, let's say you have 10 characters. I'll put a group of 3 together and then a group of 6 on one side. And there might be 1 or 2 that are stragglers around, right? And then it's much easier to compose that way. To like compose 10 characters and they're all like in different positions, it becomes a little chaotic for people to understand. So
you could even like have just like generic, circle heads and little stick figures. I forgot what you call them, starmen, right?
Yeah.
Just like have a group of starmen lined up in the back, and then say one of them is, I don't know, the Incredible Hulk, just to make him look different. And he could be in there as a starman, but then as soon as he has a line or becomes important in the scene, he'll pop out of that group, and you start drawing him a little bit more distinct than the rest of the group too. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. This Ray is asking, what's the link to the free course? Oh, let me put that up again. Thanks for asking. Okay. Use this one as a shortened link. Bit.ly will shorten your link. So bit.ly/storyboard challenge. There you're going to get to the registration page. All you have to do is enter your email and you're immediately going to get registered to that course. So go ahead and do that. And we'd love to see you guys in there. All right. Back to the comments. Let's see here. Give me a second. Where did I leave off? I saw one from our buddy Jose. Let me see. Let's see. I can't believe we got superstars in this. All you guys are superstars. But a mutual friend of ours and also a mentorship alum, Jose Segura, is asking, "Hey Sergio, I'm revamping portfolio. I've been working on a couple of NDA scripts, but I'm wondering if I should include it in my portfolio or if I should just treat them as an exercise." So for those of you guys who don't know what that means, NDA is non-disclosure agreement, means it's confidential. Don't show that to anybody, right? So what would you recommend to Jose here? He's revamping his portfolio. He's got some confidential material. Can he put it in there? Or can, what if he could treat it as an exercise? What would you recommend?
Me?
Yeah, you.
I think it depends on the NDA, what the guidelines of that contract is. But I mean, it's up to him. I wouldn't show it.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. You want to be careful with showing any kind of confidential stuff, especially before it's been released publicly, because you could theoretically get into trouble. Because I know when I was working at like Disney and Lucasfilm and stuff, if we made like anything public, they would, they put the fear of God in us there, that like they would come after you with lawyers, and it just, they didn't want, they're very tight and confidential with any kind of film things that's going to be released, because they want the marketing departments to handle that stuff. And, they have a whole strategy to release information to the public. So just be careful with NDA scripts. What I would recommend there, at least, is maybe if you already have something that's pretty complete, can you do a couple variations? Can you show like 1 or 2 images that nobody's going to identify where it came from? And
that's what I was going to add. If it's something like a character that's like if you're on an NDA for like a Spider-Man movie, everybody knows who Spider-Man is. I wouldn't show that, right? But if you're working on something that no one's ever heard of and you just want to show it for a portfolio and show it to a client and just show it, not share it, that would be, I don't know. I think it'd be a little bit safer.
Yeah, some things that I've seen people do is they password protect both their like PDF portfolios and also like an online website. They put a password there, and that's pretty good. And you only send it to people you trust, and make sure that they can't download. You can do this depending on what kind of
I think the guys were talking about that this morning, that they all have websites, but a lot of it's password protected. Yeah,
that's true. And you want to make sure you can't download those images. They can still get out there somehow, but just be careful with that kind of stuff. So this is a great question here from Sydney. So he's asking for the panelists here, what are the prerequisites for the portfolio challenge? What should people already know going in? Well, this is free. This is open for anybody. And I highly encourage anybody of all levels to come in there. You should have some kind of drawing desire, right? You should want to do this. Don't get in there if you really want to be a chef or, you want to be an accountant. That's not something that you're going to get much out of. But if you want to be an artist and you want to tell stories, this is for you. I think basically what you need is a way to draw, and you need a way to upload this or send it to us. Some people, this is an interesting development this year. A lot of people have been emailing us saying they don't have Facebook accounts. And I wonder if it's because, they're the way that they're cracking down on censorship for these social media accounts or what. But a lot of people are avoiding. And plus, I think people get tired sometimes of the platforms. So that's totally fine. You can email us directly and we'll help give you some advice there. But
let's say she's talking about, or he is talking about the mentorship. What do you recommend for people, prerequisites for the mentorship?
Oh, okay. Well, if we switch that question up, I would also recommend, I've been telling people, like, one, you should have a way, like a setup to draw, I recommend a digital setup. You can still draw on pencil and paper, but you have to have a method to easily either scan these in or upload the pictures and photos and send it to us. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to, to give you feedback. And I would also recommend, if you don't have enough drawing experience, you're going to be really struggling with some of the exercises, because the drawing part, you need to have at least a minimum of experience and understand the technical parts of drawing. Now, we can help you with that. I can definitely point out some of the things that you should be working on. But if you're completely new to drawing and your proportions and your anatomy, it does not have the experience there, well, you're going to be one of those people that might struggle with these things. So you might be good on ideas and filmmaking, but there's a technical portion that you're going to have to get over. Cool. All right, let's get on to the next question. This is interesting. Rez is asking, I wonder how Quentin Tarantino does his storyboarding. I don't know. Does anybody know if he boards out his films beforehand? I think there's a couple of guys that I follow in the industry that have been Tarantino's board artists. I'm sure he does it himself a lot of times and can conceptualize these things, or he picks and chooses like maybe difficult sequences that would require a lot of boards. And I think a guy like that would have a really solid idea for like a dialogue scene or something relatively simple. Most of the time for live action films, when they're doing like just a simple dialogue scene or visual effects heavy shots, that's when you would bring in some story guys, because they can help you resolve those problems, right? Cool. All right, let's see what else is going on here. Yeah, thank you guys for, a lot of you have answered these questions already in the chat. There's been like a flood of messages, so I'm getting to them as they come in. Forgive me if I'm repeating a lot of things that you've already said here. This is a good one too. Rez has another one here. Do big studios use Procreate? Have you heard of any animation studios or film studios using Procreate?
Not really. I asked all my friends that are down in SoCal. They're still using Storyboard Pro, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And they all have some Cintiqs at the office. Yeah, I think people are using it privately, in their private art, but not yet. But I think it'll get there, especially with this new life that we're living with post 2020, whatever that's going to end up looking like. But this mobile on the go type life, I think that'll start becoming more of a reality. And I wish I had it handy. Maybe somebody will have it in the messages. But that guy from DreamWorks who posted his work method for Procreate, he was starting to do it for work. So because he wasn't at the office, he was working from home on his iPad and sending it to the office. So it's starting to happen, especially with the mobile. Yeah.
Animate Sam here is saying, was that Anthony Holden or Rad Seacrest?
It might have been Rad. I think that one sounds more familiar.
Yeah, I think both of the guys are really awesome. Cool. Well, we're winding down to the end of this talk, and I'm sorry if we haven't gotten to every one of your questions. Let me just scan this and see if there's one like pressing thing that you guys want to know about. I think, you know, we're going to have another story Q&A that's happening on Sunday. And that, let me just pull up the schedule 1 second so I can tell you guys what's going to come up. So Sunday, September 13th at 11 a.m. Pacific time, I'm doing another live stream. I'll be hosting that with another great artist, Nick Sung. So he's part of the mentorship. And for those of you guys who have questions about the mentorship, well, I hope you can participate in that one. You can always see the replay afterwards, but Nick and I will be there to answer questions about story. I'm going to ask Nick about his methodology and what kinds of things he thinks about with film and just correcting other artists. So hopefully you guys can participate and see that too. And then in the afternoon, we're going to have another Q&A, and that's going to happen at 3 p.m. Pacific time. And we're going to do another one like this. We're going to take all your story questions. So guys, thanks. I think this is probably a good spot to any final words from you. Wahab, anything that you want to add to this discussion or just in general?
Thanks again to you, man, for doing this for everybody. And thanks again to everybody else for participating. And I'll make sure I follow up with that, the storyboarding for Procreate, that little, he made it like a PDF and it's shareable. And then you can just go through and see what his steps are and methods are. So yeah,
okay.
I'll make sure to share it.
Right on. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. I also repeat that. Thank you for participating. It's my pleasure to do these things. So I'm happy to help out and give back to the community. All right. Thanks. We'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. PST. All right, guys. Take care. You're going to see a logo and we're out. See ya.